Thank you very much for joining us for the first episode of Family Matters for the year 2019. We began the year on a very wrong note, if you can remember very well, last week during a time that no one really predicted. The country was faced by something really sad, but we are moving on as a country like we always do, and tonight we are also talking about a challenge that has been facing us for a very long time. Every year, about 39 cases of cancer are reported across the country, and 27,000 of them lead to death every year. This is a conversation that has been with us for a very long time, and the more we talk about it, the more awareness we create. So tonight we are laying focus on cancer. In studio, I am joined by three guests. One of them is our resident counseling psychologist. Her name is Ngatia. Of course, you know her very well. And the lady seated next to her is Sally. She is Sally Agallo. She has a story for us. Of course, it's a really powerful one. And to my extreme left is Valentine Musungu, a nurse working at the Codis Maria Medical Center in Githurai. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Sally, you are a woman that has seen a lot in life, especially when it comes to matters health. You are a survivor. Tell us your story.
I've actually come from the stage of survivorship to being a victorious woman, a warrior for that matter, because I survived cancer 3 times. And it started from the cervix, and I always say a woman shouldn't die of cervical cancer, because I didn't have any symptom, and I go to the doctor and I'm told cervical cancer stage 2, and I was feeling nothing. So it was, the doctor said it was gonna spread very fast. So we had to do what was called total hysterectomy, which was done, but my immune system was very low. And I had to do I couldn't do chemotherapy and radiotherapy because my white blood cells were very low. And after some time, after 3 years, about 3 years, that was in 2007. So I went on for follow-ups, and after 3 years again, it was detected in the colon. And 50 centimeters of my colon had to be cut.
Wow.
As time went by, I went for testings again and follow-ups. It had now spread to the rectum. So your next question maybe would be, how do you pass through?
This is quite a story. So what happened after that?
So it was very traumatizing for me because I'd lost 2 babies, and now I'm being told your uterus has to go. And I didn't take it well. Of course, as any other person, I went for a second opinion, a third opinion. And at that time, I was working for a medical organization, and I thought, okay, can I also consult from my colleagues? And they said, it's fine. You go for it, because if you leave it, then it's the cancer that spreads. It will go to the other organs. So it's a decision I made, and it wasn't easy, because with the in-laws already I'd lost 2 babies, and I'm being told your uterus is going, meaning that I wouldn't have more babies. So that fight of in-laws asking my husband to remarry, to get someone else who would give birth. I'm going through what I'm going through, and here people telling my husband, life has to go on, you have to get someone who will give you babies. So struggling with all this, accepting my condition and moving on. But I agreed for all that to happen. And finally my rectum was removed in 2010. And now I use this special appliance. This is called a colostomy bag. So a hole was made through my body, and now that is where a stool comes out from. It's called a stoma. So I wear this bag each day. I stick it, it has an adhesive, so I peel, I stick it to what is called the stoma, and it collects the stool. Once it's filled, I have to take it out and put another one. If I asked you today, maybe before I explained, would you know what this is?
No, I wouldn't.
Would you know what this is? No. Would you know what this is? Maybe you would, because you're a medic. But a lot of Kenyans don't know what this is. Or if you go to a hospital and you have a patient and the doctor tells you, go and look for this, what is this? So I also decided that I'll create awareness. God healed me, and I will speak and share my story, that it is possible that to live even after cancer diagnosis. 3 years ago now I was declared cancer-free, and I'm here. And what I do is inspire people. And now I'm ambassador for several organizations, one of them being the Future Generation. This is an NGO of young men and women who came together after having been affected by cancer, losing so many family members. So they said, why don't we come together and fight this thing? So they formed this NGO, and now they are encouraging people to go for screening. And their main objective is to make Kenya a cancer-free generation, if that is possible, and it can happen. I'm going around, January being Cervical Cancer Awareness Month, I'm telling women, please, let's get tested, let's get screened. Because the latest statistics say that 4 women die each hour, so we've been here for like 2 hours. So that means 8 women already dead.
Wow.
From a condition that they shouldn't die of.
So the cancer is gone?
It's gone. 3 years ago I was confirmed, but I have to live with this condition.
You have to live with this for the rest of your life?
For the rest of my life.
All right. Ngatia, it is quite a story, especially when she says that, you know, family also had other ideas. Yeah. How do you balance such kind of pressures with what she is going through?
A very important question there, Edward. But I would like to really commend our sister here for having gone strong. It wasn't easy, particularly because this is a disease that anyone who hears about cancer know that this is a life-threatening disease. Eventually, they probably just look at the person and wait for what next. Right. She was able to walk it strong. And what I find very, very important, it is not so much about what other people said, it's about what she thought of her own condition. Yeah. However, social support is very important. I'm sure there were 2, 3 people or people you counted on who right. came along and were able to support her. However, again, probably not to repeat that, when there is a force against your goodwill, like Sarah's here, it becomes very complicated. And particularly when it's coming from the people whom she would have counted in as part of her support system. Family members are always very, very important because they're the ones who ensure that the patient takes medication. When the worst happens, they take them to hospital when they are not even able to take care of themselves. But when they come and fight the same person who is already going through enough hell, in quotes, then that was very, very devastating. But herself, her inner self, said, I have to fight it. And she said that however she let life continue for herself, because she still had the responsibility, and every patient has, from whatever disease, to tell themselves that they have to fight it in the best way possible. If someone come by and have mercy on them, support them, give them that critical medical advice, they will still walk. And of course, her trust in God, we always say that spirituality is a very vital part of survival of humanity. So the fact that she trusted that there must be a power beyond my family members, my in-laws, and the rest of the community that didn't support was actually something that kept her going. And that's where hope comes in, that people must have hope. Whatever declaration is given, there must be hope for continuity. And even for the healing process. As much as I may not claim to know so much about the medical issues, but a person's psychological state and that inner self, whatever they tell themselves, is very important even in the a progression or prognosis of the disease, and eventually the healing.
Right.
So she combined all that, and we can hear somebody who is going strong and telling Kenyans there is hope, and no one needs to die of this disease because it can be managed.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And Valentine, I know that hospitals are finding ways of accommodating or dealing with this kind of a disease. But how do you take care of a cancer patient, considering that this is someone who is so delicate? Some say that nowadays cancer is feared more than HIV and AIDS.
Oh yes. Maybe first I'll start by telling Kenyans what cancer is, so that I can then give an experience of how it feels actually to manage a cancer patient in a ward. So actually cancer is whereby there is an abnormal cell growth, whereby there is an abnormal cell growth which tend to proliferate and at times metastasize. Now, at this time, when the cell becomes abnormal and proliferate in an abnormal way, now this cell will start to overgrow. Now when it starts to overgrow, actually, at times, when you get a mild injury, now the affected site now will be painful. That the pain will set in, and then after the pain there'll be other problems which are associated with it, like there'll be anemia setting in. Also there'll be body weakness, because actually this cell is growing in your body and is using your energy, and actually is using the resources of the body, which are instead supposed to be used by other parts of the body. Mm-hmm. Now, these clients, these patients who are suffering from cancer, are usually actually disturbed psychologically, physically, and even physiologically, if you can say. So actually, these are patients who need total care. Total care now, that means you have to feed them, you have to support them psychologically every time, and even the family. Even the family is usually affected so much that all of them actually need counseling and support, and even some procedures which are done in the process of caring for the cancer patients.
What sort of procedures are there?
The procedures, like, for example, my sister here, Salia, said she's now using a colostomy bag. Mm-hmm. Now, before she started using the colostomy bag, she has to be taught on how to use the colostomy bag. And you have to start by teaching her to know what a colostomy bag is and fitting it into the body. And most of the times it's so uncomfortable and so irritable, mm-hmm, while you stick it in the colostomy bag.
So that's one, and then which other procedures?
And now that is one, and then two, you have to care for the site, the affected site. Mm-hmm. Now the affected site, at times it can bleed. You have to arrest the bleeding and to manage the pain. You are supposed to actually manage the pain there. You prevent the infection, so that because you don't want this part of the body to complicate, because once you're affected with cancer, your immune system is deteriorated. Now the immune system lowers. Now you're at risk of getting other infections.
So what happens when you have parts of the body probably that are not able to be attended to, such as the colon? Let's talk of cancer of the spine, for example. Mm-hmm. How do you take care of that?
Now, some parts like the spine, we cannot say actually that they cannot be taken care of. Actually, they can be taken care of, but not directly. Mm-hmm. You see, you cannot attend one-on-one inside the spinal cord, but you have to manage it. Maybe at times you will need to position this patient in such a way that there is less pressure in the spinal cord so that the patient can feel comfortable. That is when then you have to teach this patient on the positions that she can maybe lie comfortably or sit comfortably, or even you can also advise this client on some tactics of moving while he or she wants to move around, on the tactics of changing position in a comfortable way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sally, of course, a lot has changed for you. There is a way you used to live before the challenge.
The condition, yes.
And then now, there are things that you have had to adapt to. How different are things?
First of all, I would like to say that, for example, what Valentine is talking about, that a patient needs to be trained. That is something that I'm really, really advocating for. For example, in my case, I wasn't trained. I realized that these things are taught in medical school, but when these people come now to the hospitals to do it practically, not a lot of them want to do, especially the issue of colostomy bag. You find that a lot of nurses don't even have that information. Actually, the bag is not even available in the hospital. And if you work in this government hospital, the situation is pathetic, because the surgeon does his job and leaves you. It was very traumatizing for me to see my intestine hanging outside my body. Because, you know, for a lay person, the doctor tells me, I'd gone for surgery for over 10 times. So when the doctor said, don't worry, I'll give you a colostomy and you'll be fine. What is a colostomy for a lay person? So I thought maybe that's one of the wonder drug or wonder procedure that will happen and I'll be fine. So what I would like to say is that the patient needs education, like you said, which is not happening in this country. I don't know about other countries, but in Kenya, where I had my experience, you are told things in medical jargons which you don't understand. For example, I was told colostomy. What is colostomy? I was told total hysterectomy. What is that? So after theater, I'm being told that this is what happened. Your intestine was removed out, and this is what. It was very traumatizing. And now the bag. This bag, one costs 1,000 shillings. How many Kenyans would afford? And even if you afford, what is the sustainability? For me, I have to use it for the rest of my life. Look at how tiny it is. This can fill even 3 times a day. So that means I shouldn't eat much, or some people don't even eat at all because they don't know where to get the bag. I'm privileged to be partnering with such organizations like the Future Generation and others who are supporting us. But otherwise, how many Kenyans even know where to begin? And again, there is a lot of stigma surrounding it. Like, for example, now people who are watching me may look at me differently after this session, I don't know. And I've lost several boyfriends because of that. And now I'm not shy because I said I'll go public and speak about it. If you like it or you don't like it, but that's me. So living with people has not been easy because I have to wear this special bag. If I don't have it, I can't leave the house. So it has really changed my life. Financially, I don't have a job, so I'm depending on well-wishers, on donations from people to give me. And a lot of other Kenyans. We are in a support group of 300 people, and I've watched people die because of starvation, because of psychological issues. Family members stigmatizing them because they can't live with the smell. Because if this is a special bag, that's why I'm seated with you here and you can't smell. Maybe you're smelling something. It's made in a special way that there is charcoal that has been put there to prevent the smell. But without this, I wouldn't even come for this interview today. And another thing is the financial issue that I'm talking about. So in short, I would say that I don't want to say disabled, but able differently. There are certain things that I can't do. I can't carry a lot of weight because part of my intestine is out. So one of the things I was told that if you do heavy duties, it would usually prolapse, like come out and hang, like that means I have to go back for surgery. A lot of people also are not able to afford the treatment. We are told we have NHIF, thank God it's there, but how much it covers on cancer is still not so clear. Some people go and say, okay, I thank God that during the time I was going through my treatment, I was employed, so had a medical insurance which paid for all this. But I find a lot of people just dying in their houses. Once they're told there's a cancer diagnosis, then what next? So they just die because NHIF says we can't even pay for the screening, for example. And so if you're not screened, then how does the doctor even start the treatment? So one of the things is people don't have enough money to even do the screening and then now eventually get the treatment. So what I'm also lobbying for is that if NHIF would pay for the screening for cancer, for whatever, like the doctor says, for colon cancer, for example, is colonoscopy. For cervical cancer, it's pap smear. NHIF does not cover these things. So you tell someone, go and spend 1,000 shillings for the pap smear test. They'd rather buy skuma wiki for their kids and have dinner. So what is the priority? So if NHIF would cover, because we're already paying for it, so if it would cover for this screening, it could be a big help. It would also cover fully for chemotherapy and radiotherapy and everything else that is required. I know all other chronic conditions are also fighting for the same space, but what I would say is that we have money, but it's being mismanaged. That is what I would say. We watch it in the news every day, that someone has squandered this much. It could have bought a lot of colostomy bags. It could have paid chemotherapy for a cancer patient. But you go, you're told this is not covered. And someone is taking this money and doing things that they're not supposed to be doing.
All right.
Yeah.
Ngatia, a lot has to be done in terms of creating awareness and also ensuring that there is comfort when you're going through, such challenges. Earlier we talked about the need for family to come through for you.
Right.
Yeah.
But how do you extend it outside? She says that she even lost boyfriends because of the condition.
It is sad.
Yes. So are you supposed to go out there, seek acceptance, or you're supposed to just confine yourself to some particular space and hope that someone might come from outside to accept you for who you are?
Wow, Edward, that's a very important observation you have made there. Let me start by saying, whenever we see people being stigmatized, whoever is stigmatizing or engaging in that process is a person who does not have information. They don't understand what this is about. Because right here, when we hear cancer, for the ordinary Kenyan, for the ordinary member of society, it's like, oh, that sounds like death. There are certain things we associate immediately with they don't have a life. I mean, the world has ended for them, mainly because they lack information. And I think one thing we need to be able to support others is accurate, appropriate, and relevant information. We need people to be educated so that when they are reaching out to others, they know what kind of help they need. They know the nature of the disease, that part of the healing and recovery, like she is here as a very big testimony and challenge, they are able to identify, where do I come in? What are the things I'm not supposed to say? Telling a person, for instance, suggesting let her husband get a woman to marry who can get a child. I mean, what is more important here? What if that child who is born goes through the same fate? So we need to be able to put priorities in the right way, in the right perspective, and that will happen if people have information. Something called psychoeducation is very important. And I believe we may not blame the medics either, who are not able also to sit with the patients and give them information. What I would suggest as a way forward, in Kenya, we have counseling psychologists like me, and we are many of us in the field. And counseling psychologists are trained in something called counseling in medical condition. They actually also are trained in health psychology. Things like taking responsibility of one's health. It is absolutely an individual's responsibility to make sure they go for screening, to engage in right diet from the word go, and we are not blaming anyone who may have suffered, to do exercises that we really do not like doing, majority of us, and to make sure that they get regular checkup for their own health. And in the event they are unwell, the patient also need to understand the nature of their disease. Actually, it is the right of the patient to be told where they are sick, first of all, what is the nature of the disease, what is the medication involved, what is the cost, just in case they are taking care of their own medical coverage, and how long will it take?
Right.
And I think that accurate information is very important, and the same information can be disseminated to the caregivers.
So
Right.
do you confine yourself into, you know, your own space, or do you reach out? How do you do it? Because she has her challenges. There are
Yeah.
things she cannot do.
Yeah.
So what do you do?
Okay, now that she already has a condition, Sarah here is living with a condition, and she has accepted it. Probably her acceptance of her own condition is very important, because you'll be able to comply. Medical compliance and any other prescriptions compliance is important when a patient first accepts and they understand. Like now she says she cannot lift heavy weights. That's very important. She doesn't want to kill herself, because she could also do the contrary. So that understanding, that goodwill, and then complying. Once medication is on course, compliance is very, very important.
Okay.
That's what has kept her alive. And we are able to learn from her. And I believe Kenyans who are viewing this program will be able to learn that it is possible to live.
Yes.
Actually, living is a choice.
So, are you sometimes probably concerned that it might show up again? Because we've had cases. I know this is negative energy, but it's important to talk about it. We have seen cases where there's a recurrence after some years. Are you afraid of that?
Yes, because you remember, as I said, mine reoccurred after 3 years. I got cervical cancer, and then after the total hysterectomy, after 3 years, it reoccurred in the colon. And then the same year again in the rectum. So it happened to me. So it's something that, as I'm human, yes, I've accepted that at the end of the day, I'm a human being. And especially when I see people who maybe were diagnosed with at the same time dying, or the cancer comes back and spreads to the other organs, of course there's that fear. And
How
to
do
be
you
honest,
handle
I haven't even gone for my checkups. I hope my doctor is not watching this, but yes, it's so scary, because how do I deal with it?
Yeah. Do you just shut it out?
After going through so much events in my life to do with my health, I take it one breath at a time, not even one day. One day is too long.
Okay.
I say one breath at a time. I'm breathing now, I thank God. I've let my life for God to take control. I can't do it myself. So when I hear about someone, every day I hear that someone was passed on, because I deal a lot with patients and survivors. So someone tells me, Sally, imagine my cancer has come back and now this is what the doctor is saying. It's now in the liver. It's very scary for me. At the beginning, I was really crying, and I even got suicidal at some point. But I thank God for psychologists I have one who's really working with me, and prayer partners in church, and people who are holding me and saying it's possible. Everyone will die. You don't have to die of cancer. I've gone to so many burials of people who didn't die of cancer. I just have to wait for my day.
All right.
And what I always say, that I will die of age. I'm 50 now, and I know I'll have another 50.
You're 50.
Yes, I don't look 50.
You don't look 50.
I am 50.
She doesn't look 50.
She doesn't look, because she has a lot of her self-esteem, her self, awareness, her self-justification is very high. That's what we need, Edward.
She does not look 50. So, Valentine, there are those patients who come to hospital and the cancer is back. They do not know what to do. What are the steps that they're taken through?
Okay. Such like patients, what we usually do is first to confirm that they're actually suffering from cancer. And then after confirmation and the diagnosis is made, then we, first of all, we support them psychologically and medically. And then we actually coordinate with the counseling department so that they are supported psychologically. And then after much support for the patient themselves and the family, and then we actually initiate the treatment, another treatment now for the recurrence.
Hospitals talk about care and all those medical jargons, but they never really tell you about the cost of it all.
Actually, what I can maybe put it clearly is that unfortunately in our country, there are so many hospitals which deals and care for the cancer patients, but there are very few hospitals, and to name them, there are actually 4 main hospitals. That is the Kenyatta National Hospital, the Nairobi Hospital, the Aga Khan Hospital, and the Mpisha Hospital, which are actually capable of caring for the cancer patients.
But at what cost, though?
And now, actually, the cost, I cannot give the exact figure, but I know, actually, like for a single session, many clients have to go for like 2 sessions per week of radiotherapy.
At how much each?
And each session, you can be paying like 40,000 per session. So
40,000 shillings per session.
That's the rough estimate.
So
now,
what it basically means is that for someone who cannot afford it, it becomes a challenge.
And now, actually, many people don't afford it.
So that's why most people consider this a death sentence.
Actually, that's the point, because many prefer not being diagnosed, because after being diagnosed with cancer, they cannot afford the treatment.
Wow.
Now you see, that's the main challenge.
That's more scary than cancer itself.
Exactly.
So what do you do?
Exactly.
What do you do? You don't have money to seek medical help.
And you know, one of the problem I have with also, I'm happy that medics are there and they're helping us. But my question is, who determines how much they should charge? Because the figures are satanic. I mean, they tell you and you die even before the cancer kills you. I've seen people who just go and lock themselves in their houses and die. Because who determines how much okay, that is 40,000 for the session. But before that, the consultant wants their consultation fee, which is not less than 5,000, just to say they're writing for you that prescription to go for that treatment. So that at that consultation point, you can even stop going to the hospitals. I've seen many who don't go.
Who determines that figure? Is it because we don't have personnel and equipment to deal with cancer? Or it's because the equipment is there, but hospitals are taking advantage?
Actually, the reason why these figures are put at high rates, one of them is because we have very few oncologists. Like, for example, in Kenya, we have only 4 radio oncologists. We have only 6 radio oncologists. So actually, these people, in fact, at times they may not be there because they have gone to serve somewhere else. And then the other thing is that actually it's so expensive to import these machines which are used in the treatment, and even servicing them is also expensive, you see. And so those are part of the reasons why the cost is high. But basically now the institution will determine the charges basing on the organization.
No, there's something that I don't understand here.
Yeah.
Equipment is not there. If at all it is there, it's not enough.
Yeah.
It's not enough.
Yes, and there are so many Kenyans who cannot afford it.
Yeah, who cannot afford. In fact, majority cannot
so,
afford.
how do you balance? Do we have more investors, or we empower Kenyans to live those lives that probably will be able to enable them afford, just in case, because we have insurance, because we know that at some point
something will happen.
Yes. So how do we balance the equilibrium? From your perspective.
One is we need to train more personnel, bring more equipment. I'm sure we have money in this country. There is money in this country. How to manage it is our problem. Because you find a lot of cancer patients fundraising and going to India. That is money in this country. Why don't we fundraise and make those things available here? We don't have to travel to India. We have the monies here. And something else is when these figures are told to us, we are not given room to negotiate. You know, a doctor's place is the only place that you can go to Mama Mboga and negotiate.
Yes.
You're told Nyanya is 10 bob, you say I have 5 bob or 8 bob and it works. But in the hospital, you're given a figure of $1 million and that's what they're asking for. You cannot negotiate and say I have $500,000. It's 1 million and that's what we want. So for me is proper systems should be put in place. Okay. Proper systems.
All right. Ngatia, she is, you said not surviving.
I'm a warrior now.
I don't want to call you survivor. She's a warrior.
A great one.
Yes. What steps do you take as we wind up? What steps do you take when you are, counseling a family in general? Because sometimes it gets so big that you need to even talk to the children.
Very important. Edward, I like the way we are looking at all this. And first to appreciate that as much as we have issues with the facilities, machines and medication and even the experts for this, we can appreciate that at least something is happening. And this can be
For example, I didn't go to India, I was treated here.
Thank you. That is something, and you are saying that in Kenya, something is happening. Not forgetting, Edward, that we have many other non-communicable diseases that are competing for the same finances for the country, maybe the national budget, facilities here and there, hospitals are still few. So we can say that together we can make the desired change. And I think this is now collective responsibility. We need to do what we can do best. And this is where I say, whatever each expert, even the common person, just telling a person, I'm praying for you, or I'll support you. What kind of practical support do you need, as opposed to fighting the very person? That is someone doing something to help the recovery process and to help the person to go strong and to have hope, because hope is the last thing anyone should lose.
Right.
I would also like to say that other professionals can also come in.
Yes.
I believe the medics are doing their best, and I'm not campaigning for them in any way, but I believe they are doing the best that they can. Actually, they could be overwhelmed. And it is no wonder that we could get people suffering a burnout. Psychologists can create awareness in their own understanding. Health psychology, chances of enhancing one's health, regular checkups and what have you. Medical counseling, health psychologists come in, and the person in the village can also do the practical thing that they can, just being there for the person. I believe this is a battle that can be fought, and we are already fighting it. But we need more energy injected. We need more goodwill. We need people not to sit back and say Kenya, the government and whatever. I believe we are the life changers in the little things that we do, the small steps that we take, because the government, ideally, it is us who put that government in place. So we need to engage goodwill, Edward, and this is very important. Even this platform, even to tell Kenyans that, look, someone can live and can survive and become a warrior. You are a great warrior.
Thank you.
Sally,
Thank you.
keep it there.
All right. As we wind up, in less than a minute, on 4th of February will be the cancer.
It's the World Cancer Day.
The World Cancer Day.
And yes, and the national event is being held in Meru.
Yes.
But all counties are being encouraged to do their own small thing and make Kenyans aware that cancer is there. So the future generation is having a campaign in Githurai on the same day, and there'll be free screening for cancer.
Free screening
for cancer, yes.
Which normally would cost 1,000 shillings and
no,
more.
Screening for cancer is more, depending on which one. Okay, for pap smear maybe it could be 1,000, but others would be 1,000 plus.
So this free screening will be for all.
Oh yes, there are those that are not would not be able to be done at the venue because of the setting, but they're working with partners who can maybe refer this to the hospitals.
All right.
Yeah, there's some like for colonoscopy, you can do it in the field or something
But
like
still
that.
free.
It's going to be free. And again, this week, from starting tomorrow, Monday to Sunday, there's going to be free screening for cervical cancer in Texas Hospital and Kenyatta Hospital, SOS in Buruburu and in Eldoret, and all the Tunza clinics countrywide.
Okay.
And also Kenyatta National Hospital. There's also an official launch tomorrow.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Valentine, Sally, Jen Ngatia. Of course, these conversations will always continue.
Right.
And as long as cancer remains with us, we need to also form a formidable force to deal with it. Because 27,000 lives every year, it's quite a number. And the saddest part of it is that 39,000 new cases reported.
Yeah.
Probably it's even more, because these are statistics which were done a couple of years back.
Right.
All right, but I hope that we'll find a middle ground and ensure that we eradicate it. All right, that does it for us for the first edition of Family Matters for 2019. My name is Edward Kabasa. On behalf of the team here, have yourself a very wonderful week ahead. Good night.